everybody. Welcome to another live stream. And we actually have some really interesting stories to discuss today. Also, I've decided not to do the automatic ads. I know I was going to try them all week, but I think they were just too disruptive to the experience. So ads will appear if you don't watch if you don't watch the live stream live. There are ads after the fact, but during the live stream, I just feel it breaks up the experience. So thank you all for your honest feedback. We got to try new stuff. And then also we have to be honest about whether or not the new stuff works out. So yes, welcome to another live stream. The way these work, as usual, is that anyone can watch. Members may comment. If you gift a membership, thank you very much. I gift them at the beginning of every week. The first stream of every week, I gifted 5 yesterday. And that's the best way to support this channel because you not only help me, thank you 80s model, but also you allow someone else to benefit from your gift. Like Linzek. Linzek just got a free membership. You get a free membership for a month, I don't choose who gets a membership. The way it works is that YouTube, thank you, Writer Boy. YouTube decides who should get it based on your interactions with this channel. So if you're a subscriber, you were a member in the past. Thank you, Tammy. Thanks, Randy. Thank you, Not Modern Art History. That's all so kind of you. Oh, look, Linzek's here right away. I love it. I think that's awesome. And if you aren't watching the live stream, you get an email that says that you got a free membership for a month. All right, so please try to keep your comments and questions. Thanks, Bubbles. Try to keep your comments and questions to the story at hand. Oh, you like my shirt, Danny? This is a very fuzzy shirt. It's my fuzzy, like, fake fur shirt from Anthropology. I love it so much. It's so soft and cuddly. So please starting now, please try to keep your comments and questions at the story at hand. I will mostly answer questions at the end of each section. And then at the very end, as always, there's an Ask Me Anything for 10 minutes. So if you have something that you want to ask me that doesn't pertain to today's 3 stories, that's the place to do it. Hey, Jonathan, welcome back. Okay, so here we go. Story number 1. Boop. Oh, wait, I was moved from yesterday. All right, this is actually a very big deal. This is a business story. This story broke late last night, and it's still developing. We don't know if the shareholders are going to accept Byron Allen's bid, but it's certainly very interesting. It's a very interesting situation. I think one thing for certain is that Sherry Redstone is going to become even wealthier. For decades, not decades, but years, she fought her father, Sumner Redstone, to wrestle ownership of the company away from him. He would not give it up to her. He felt that he could still do it, and she was constantly trying to call him mentally incompetent because she wanted to sell it, ka-ching, and get the money. And she eventually was able to get the company away from him, and now, sure enough, she's selling it. The first thing they did was change the name from Viacom to Paramount because that's easier to tell what it is. But Paramount it's a pretty big studio, but not huge, which is why Zazie wants to merge with it. But he might not get the chance anymore. Just to refresh your memory, Paramount already has 2 suitors. Warner Brothers with David Zaslav. He's already met with Sherry, or like some of her lieutenants. He's kicking the tires. He's having his accountants look at whether or not the deal makes sense. And then also David Ellison, with the backing of his father, Larry Ellison, who of course is behind Oracle and other investors, he's trying to do a bid for the stock, but he hasn't done it yet. So in swoops in Byron Allen, who's willing to put a ring on it now with a very tempting offer. All right, so let me break it down for you. So who is Byron Allen? Well, if you read the trades, you're familiar with Byron Allen. Byron Allen is a former stand-up comedian, and in fact, he still does stand-up comedy occasionally, but for fun. And he also, I don't know if you remember, during the pandemic, and I think a little bit during the strike, when there wasn't too much on television, Byron Allen was able to get his stand-up show on network TV. I forget where it aired, but it aired like really late at night, like 12:30 or something. And it was like a stand-up comedy show that he hosted. And so, I think he very much still likes to be on the stage, but that didn't work out for him. But that's okay, because business has worked out incredible. That's right, 80s model. He owns the Weather Channel. You got to start somewhere. He owns the Weather Channel, and before that, he made his fortune buying up and running local TV stations, and he owns a lot of syndication shows. So he's become quite rich and powerful, but he doesn't have a seat at the table. While he's extremely, extremely successful, I don't think that he gets the respect that he would like within Hollywood. So I think that's clearly partially what's behind this move. Now, a few months ago, he said he wanted to buy BET and VH1. He said, come on, Paramount, spin those two off and give them to me. But that deal obviously has not happened. So now he's just going to try and buy the whole enchilada. Now, what has he offered? And, he's willing to pay a lot for it. So he and his investors have offered to pay, well, it's a $30 billion deal, but it's not $30 billion cash up front. It's $14 billion in cash, paying a 50% premium on the stocks right now, which means that he's offering shareholders 50% more than the stocks are worth currently. So that's what he's trying to do to make this buyout appealing. And then he's also willing to assume the $15 billion in debt that Paramount currently has. So that's why in total it's approximately a $30 billion deal. It's really $29 billion and change. So that's what he's looking at. $14 billion for the stock, and then he's willing to take on the $15 billion in debt. Now, let's see if he can get the deal done. Now, where this would be historic is that there's really not any black executives or really any executives of color in Hollywood. Disney had Kareem Daniel for a hot minute because he was one of Chapek's guys. As soon as Iger came back in, Kareem Daniel was let go from Disney. And Kareem Daniel was, a lot of people knew who Kareem Daniel was because there's very little talent of color. Now, this would be not only somebody who was a major studio executive who was black, but he would own a major studio. Now, that's right, Randy. Tyler Perry, of course, is a major player, but is he? Tyler Perry is very powerful and rich as well, but he's based out of Atlanta, and he had to build his own studio. He tries to work with the studios, and he does occasionally, but he doesn't have a seat at the table, even Tyler Perry. So this would give Byron Allen ownership. Donna Langley, let's see here. Donna Langley runs Universal. Let's see. I know you keep saying that, Mika. Let's see here. Donna Langley does indeed run Universal. And yes, she is a woman of color, but I don't think that she, obviously that's very important, but I don't really think that's been a part of her profile, so to speak. And, she certainly, has run Universal colorblind, you might say. And in fact, Donna Langley, yeah, Universal. Universal, they don't do a ton of diverse projects over there, right? So it's a little bit of a different scenario. But yes, that's wonderful that Donna Langley, and she is extremely powerful. But the thing is that Byron Allen would own not only a major Hollywood studio, but a historic one of the originals. It would just be absolutely incredible for him to own this. Also, Byron Allen, hey Uatu, while I'm sure thank you for gifting a membership, while I'm sure that Byron Allen would be open to all projects at Paramount, and obviously there's a lot of already strong IP there, Byron Allen does focus a lot on talent of color. He has a lot of connections with talent of color because of his days on the stand-up circuit. And so that, I think, could potentially transform Paramount into a studio where I'm not saying it would be entirely projects of color, but Will Packer's not a Hollywood executive, Mika. Are you just Googling stuff, Mika? I mean, I applaud you, but Will Packer is not a Hollywood executive. Will Packer is a producer who has his own production company. I'm talking a studio executive. And I would argue that Will Packer doesn't have a seat at the table either. I'm talking a seat at the table, the room where it happens. And that's a really big deal. And it's the same reason that Sherry Lansing, when she took over Paramount as a woman, why that was such a historic deal. So it would be huge if Byron Allen were to have this go. You're not Googling, Mika? That's great. I'm glad. Okay, Mika, you do know your stuff. Mika has been a member of the BTT community for very long. He is a very wonderful, very smart member. I know who you are, Mika. But this would be a really big deal for Byron Allen if he were to do this. Now, at the end of the day, the shareholders have to be the ones, they have to vote on it, whether or not they want to accept this deal. And while there are, obviously lots of individual shareholders, there are obviously major companies that own huge chunks of Paramount. And if they don't agree to it, the deal wouldn't go through. So they might be waiting to see what Larry Ellison and David Ellison are willing to offer. Or that, because Warner Brothers cannot make an offer until April. That's coming up pretty quickly. That's just about 2 months away. So, there might be behind the scenes conversations with, the Ellisons and Zazie being like, well, what do you plan to offer? Can you do better than this 50% premium? I think that if it doesn't go through, though, it's a very attractive deal on paper. So if it doesn't go through, I think it would cause a lot of people to look sideways at the deal, and it would only be because potentially Byron Allen does not have a seat at the table. And that they would, it would be, I would view it, and I think others would as well, that if this deal didn't go through, it was because Hollywood still didn't want to give Byron Allen a seat at the table and was even willing to take a hit financially to keep him from doing it. So that would be not great, but I don't know if that could be pinned on anybody. Danny, I'm not sure why there aren't more executives of color. Hollywood is largely a business of relationships, so that might have something to do with it. You are seeing a huge increase in agents and managers of color. So I think that's a big gain that we've seen. And often agents and managers will sometimes become executives. So I think the day is coming, but it's still pretty far away. Although this would be a huge jump ahead if Byron Allen were to get this deal. So let's see if he can get it. I mean, it's incredible that he made the offer and he beat the other two people to the punch. That's really amazing. 80s Model says, but honestly, what can Zaslav offer? Warner Brothers Discovery is broke. Well, I mean, I guess he could clear up some money, right? They'd be able to offer something. And then also, of course, he might be saying if they were to team up, they would sell to another party and then even more money. He's looking at a merger, not an acquisition, whereas Ellison and Allen are looking to do it through the stocks. So it's a little bit of a different scenario, I think, with Zazie. But Zazie's promising a really big payday down the line. Juan Carlos says, would Paramount keep its name? Can that be a part of the deal to keep the name? I think the name of the OGs must be kept as part of the history of Hollywood. I support this deal, not a Warner Brothers one. I have to tell you, I think Byron Allen would want the name of the company. I think that he would definitely want to keep the name of Paramount. I think that's part of the value to him. Because as I said, I think the whole reason that Byron Allen wants Paramount is because he wants a seat at the table. And you know what the seat at the table comes with? The name Paramount. So he's definitely going to want Paramount to be a part of that. Andrew, so I'm doing questions now. Questions and any comments that you might have for this story. Andrew says, where is Universal in all of this? Well, Universal swears they're looking to purchase anything. But I can tell you that from Wall Street's perspective, Universal or Comcast NBC Universal is too small as is. So they have to merge with somebody or acquire someone eventually. So the idea is that maybe NBC Comcast Universal would purchase Warner Brothers by itself or Warner Brothers combined with Paramount. But so far, they're not interested in just buying Paramount, which that's never been a rumor. And, it's pretty crowded already. There's already a lot of people lined up to dance with Paramount. So let's see. Pixie Mermaid says, the name Paramount is recognizable and exudes classic mega studio power. I couldn't have said it better, Pixie Mermaid. And also he would get the lot, the historic Paramount studio lot with all those sound stages. I mean, that's a part of Hollywood history right there. That would be incredible if he were able to get that. Dancing Dog 60 says, Grace, I remember watching Byron as a teenager on NBC as one of the hosts of Real People. Isn't that incredible? And I also would like to point out that Byron Allen is an excellent example of someone whose original Hollywood dream didn't work out, being on-camera talent or a stand-up comedian. However, he just changed his dream and now might end up being one of the biggest figures in Hollywood history ever. So I think it shows, the importance of being malleable. I've always said, set your sights on an industry, not necessarily a specific part of that industry, because you never know where things might take you. And your dream might end up being a different dream. There's lots of many ways. That's right, not modern art history. Pivot, you gotta pivot. There's so many different businesses in Hollywood and so many ways to make a fortune and have influence in Hollywood. In fact, being an actor, on-camera talent, is one of the riskiest endeavors you can undertake and with one of the slimmest chances for success. Whereas working behind the scenes, you're more likely to be able to not just make a living, but to become wealthy, and then you can even rise to becoming a power player like Byron Allen. So I think his story is really incredible for that reason. That's right, Isaac Lopez. Pivot! Pivot! Always important to pivot. That's one of the things I like about that quote from The Men Who Stare at Goats. The only good thing to come out of that movie. And that's, if you're not able to swim upstream, find another, it feels like you're swimming upstream. It's because you're in the wrong stream. So switch to another stream. Keep trying streams until you find one where things start to click for you. Thanks for gifting a membership, Vin. It's really an important thing to recognize, I mean, I'm not saying you can't give it the old try, but, at a certain point, you have to realize that maybe you're not making progress for a reason and might want to consider how you can pivot. You can do a small pivot. You can do a big pivot. There's lots of pivots out there. Randy says he has worked tirelessly and deserves it. What are the odds his offer won't be accepted? I think, unfortunately, there is a solid chance that his offer won't be accepted because I don't think he has the same connections as these other individuals. Because he doesn't have a seat at the table, I think that he does not have the ability to kind of, thank you, future movie actor. Thank you for gifting those memberships. I think that he doesn't have the ability to, work the room because he's not in the room. And so I think that there is a sad chance that, they might want to do a deal with their friends. And that's not just something that's unique to Hollywood, by the way. That happens in all businesses. Heather, there's no shame in pivoting to health insurance. You pivot where you need to pivot. You do what you need to do. If you're lucky, you got a long time. And, you might have several pivots in your lifetime. Oh, thank you, Danny. Yes, if you could subscribe, like, and share the stream, that would always be appreciated. It doesn't, it's just a little click. 80s model says, this sounds a lot like the comic book industry, as you mentioned before, Grace, only networking works. Well, the comic book industry is a little worse because there are no protections there. If there's still agents and managers and lawyers, much more involved in Hollywood proper. Whereas, it's really just a bunch of friends in the comic book business. And so a lot of lines, unfortunately, get crossed. And some bad stuff happens, I'm afraid. Bad stuff happens in Hollywood, too. But I think it's a lot worse in the comic book industry. Adam, you want a poll? All right, we'll do a poll. I'll ask you what you would like to see happen to Paramount. Who would you like to see buy Paramount? Byron Allen, Ellison family, Zazie, and WB. And then you can vote, stay independent. Well, it can't stay independent. It can't. So I'll say purchased by third party or purchased by non-studio. Oh, future movie actor, you're so generous. You just donated again. All right, so anyone can vote in a poll. Only members may comment in a stream unless it's a subscriber stream, but anyone can vote in a poll. You don't even have to be a subscriber. You just got to click on it. Oh, future movie actor, so generous. Very, very generous. What's that Shirley Chisholm quote? That's a great one, your little dog, too. I've never heard that. If they won't give you a seat, bring a folding chair. I love that mentality, but I have to tell you that sometimes they will not even give you a place to put the folding chair. I mean, the world is aggressive. I'm sad to say. But you got to be really, that sometimes, I'm not saying you can't eventually find your way in, but it's really hard to force your way in. Also, Shirley Chisholm was in politics, not business. And I think that's a very different situation. I think you can force your way in politically because you can have constituents that you're backing, that are backing you. But business is very different. VTTV, the Ellison family is Oracle money. One child, Larry Ellison gave David Ellison enough money to do Skydance, which is a very commercial company. And then Megan Ellison has Annapurna Pictures, obviously, which has not done as well, has not fared as well as Skydance. Well, Alberto, Byron Allen is an executive, but that's true. He is an outside executive. Juan says, thoughts on Apple purchasing Warner Brothers or Paramount? I don't think they need to. They're already making their own movies. They've made Argyle, which comes out tomorrow evening. They've also made Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon. I think they're just fine the way they are. I don't think they need a studio. And they're one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world. Google's trowel voted for chaos, a.k.a. Byron. I love it. It is pretty cool that he's an outsider. All right, let me see how the vote ended. I'm going to close it in just a second. Then we'll go on to the next story. This is a very businessy story. Let's see here. All right, I'm ending the poll. Now let's see here. 51% of you would like to see it go to Byron Allen. 22% would like to see a non-studio purchase it, like an outside company. 20% would like to see it to go to Zazie and Warner Brothers to do a merger, whereas only 5% want to see it go to the Ellison family. We'll see what the shareholders decide. Future Movie Actors, is Spyglass owned by Paramount or is it independent? It might determine how the Scream debacle can be resolved. That's an interesting question, Future Movie Actor. Spyglass is a production company, so they might have a deal with Paramount, but I do believe that they're independent. Jason says Apple just needs to fix their app. They already make some of the best shows and films out there. They really do. Apple TV is a great service. I highly recommend it. I love it. All right, so let's get on to the next story of the day. All right, here we go. Story number 2. Boop. Oh, this is a crazy one. Crazy stories today. So, I can't believe it. DeSantis won his first round opposite Disney. Well, the first major round. They've tried to get the case dismissed in the past, and it didn't work. But finally, today, a judge in Florida, and we'll talk about the specifics of this in a minute, but first of all, I'm just giving you the headline. A judge in Florida dismissed Disney's lawsuit against DeSantis and the new Central Florida Tourism Board. It's pretty shocking. And a huge win for DeSantis because, he just lost to Trump. He made it through like one primary or two primaries in the Republican primary for the presidential campaign. But he actually, has a victory here. And it's like pretty surprising. And I don't know if DeSantis will lean into this because I think that his fight with Disney did cost him on the national level. But, obviously now the goal is to make sure he stays as the governor of Florida. So he might, we'll see what he decides to do in that regard. Now, who's this judge? I looked him up. His name is Judge Alan Windsor, and he is a federal judge who was appointed to that level by Donald Trump. So it's not too surprising. He's a Florida judge appointed by Donald Trump. And so I think the real problem is how is Disney going to get this case out of Florida? Because even on the federal level, it has to start in the state. And that state is very, Ron DeSantis is their leader for a reason. Now, Disney has vowed that they will press on and appeal because they think that the issue here, and I agree with them, is free speech. Can a company take a position without having to worry that the government could cause retribution against them? Now, I know some people are just upset with Disney, but there's even another example of this that happened. The Tampa Ray Bays is a baseball team in Florida, and when their team publicly spoke out against gun violence, DeSantis blocked $35 million of state funds for their training facility that had previously been agreed upon. And that stopped the facility from being able to move forward. And while DeSantis just said he decided that he didn't want the state to fund private sports, unfortunately, he did tell some people that he did it because he was upset about them taking that position. So that's really, really bad. That's just really bad. But I don't know if this can be taken out. I don't know if this can be handled in the courts. Companies, but what this would mean is that companies would have to start considering where they put their offices, facilities, their productions, etc. You know, for instance, when Atlanta was thinking of doing some very conservative measures, a lot of companies were vowing not to film in the state anymore, and that really stopped that dead in its tracks. But, you know, what's Disney going to do? It would be much harder for Disney to move theme parks than it is a giant glass of water, you know, just to stop sending productions to Atlanta. So I guess, and also, what if a state's leadership changes? You know, Florida has become much more conservative recently. And, you know, obviously Disney could not predict that. But what are they going to do? They can't move 4 theme parks. It's really a difficult situation. They did decide not to move a number of their employees to Florida, which was one of the reasons that they got pushed into this debate, because it wasn't just because of the theme parks, but it was because they were forcing a number of their employees to have to move to Florida just as Florida became really conservative and very anti-LGBT, and a number of their employees are LGBT, and they were forcing them to move to Florida. So that really created a difficult situation. I can't believe they tried to force so many people to move to Florida. You know, I'm sure a lot of people love living in Florida, but I think that people who choose to live in California and work for a studio like Disney probably don't want to live in Florida. And so if only Chapek hadn't made that fateful decision to try and save a buck, maybe this never would have happened. But it did happen. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't go back. So with DeSantis out of the presidential race, one has to consider if Disney should continue to pursue this. And I'm not so sure myself, even though I think they're totally in the right. So let me tell you what I think, because, you know, there's often what the situation should be and, you know, what is the best situation to actually make it work out, right? So what is a greater loss? Because they've definitely suffered, you know, losing the benefits that they had in Florida with their special district, and which other companies still have, by the way, and still enjoy, I think has been detrimental to them. So, but what is greater, the loss of those benefits or the cost of this political war? Perhaps the better thing to do would be to fund DeSantis's opponents, both Democratic and Republican, and try and get DeSantis voted out of office. I mean, they got him on the run. He was not able to make a run for president. And so I think the best thing to do would be to undercut him politically in that regard, get a new governor, and then see if you can make a deal with them to give them back their benefits. I think even a Republican benefit, if you could get a moderate Republican there into the governorship, I think that they could potentially do this. So do you continue to battle this in the courts and continue to be a punching bag for politicians, right? You know, far right politicians? Or do you maybe try this like less combative method? They might try and do both. But I guess maybe, you know, they'll see how it goes. I mean, I think they're not going to give up right away, but I don't know if they can get this case out of the state of Florida. I don't know if they can do it. And I don't know if a Florida judge with Ron DeSantis as governor would agree, would help them. I think that's what, and they're just going to keep having like, oh, well, this is a liberal judge. This is a conservative judge. And then both sides will just keep appealing it, saying that, you know, it was a political vendetta either way. So that's the problem. It's unicorn grace, George. Sometimes I get a little political. So we'll see what Disney decides to do. I think it's pretty shocking that the case was thrown out. They weren't even able to try the case. They were able to have some arguments to talk about why they felt the case should go forward because, DeSantis had already tried to get it thrown out. And Disney apparently had added the constitutional element. They were like, this is a First Amendment issue. And so then they had some arguments for why the case should be held. And then this judge said he doesn't agree, that he doesn't think Disney even has a case. They didn't even get to have a case. I think that's pretty bad, especially because I think the evidence against DeSantis is like really strong. Like it's clearly a vendetta. I mean, maybe they could get the Tampa Bay Bays to make a class action suit. But I mean, this is going to be just so expensive. Although I obviously Disney has attorneys on retainer, so it's not too expensive for them. But I think the political angle is the best way to go, And, Disney cut funding to all of politicians in Florida, particularly the Republicans, and that's another reason that everybody got so upset with them. So maybe they could start giving money to politicians again, everybody except Ron DeSantis and like his closest supporters. So you would be giving to Democrats and Republicans again, but you would just be working like on getting DeSantis out of there. Raphael says, the fact that a private company has the power to manipulate a state's politics because politics have power to censor free speech is mental in both directions. Well, I don't think that's true, Raphael. I mean, I don't think they can meddle to the degree. I mean, what did Disney really accomplish for their stance? Disney took a stance. That bill still passed. It didn't change a lot of people in the minds of Florida. Bye, Andrew. I think that you're giving way too much credit to Disney's political power. I mean, I think what you have is a lot of politicians who are upset that Disney stopped, contributing to their political slush funds. Jason says, you can't punish a company for taking a stance publicly, but the company shouldn't forget what it is and that's not an activist. But Jason, I don't, would you say that about Tampa Bay and their gun control? I think a company has the right to take a stance. And then the court of public opinion will decide if that was a good stance to take. So, I think that's the situation. Any other questions or comments about this story before we get to the third story of the day, which is a much lighter one? Well, daft tool, I mean, I hope you're not being sarcastic, but corporations are people in that they are made up of people. And they have employees who have to live in these states, and that's very, very important. Danny, I can't go back and see the super chat. I'm sorry. Sometimes if you do a super chat before I'm looking at them, I might just miss it. I'm very sorry, Danny. Bye, Cat Shack. Good night. Oh, Junior Jangle says that DeSantis is losing popularity in Florida. Jason, they have to deal with the consequences, but those consequences should not be coming from the government. I mean, then how are we any different from some of the fascist governments then, right? And Tiff points out that gas companies influence politics for far worse motives. Way to go, Tiff. Great point. That's right. I mean, why do you think that lobbying is a whole profession in Hollywood? I mean, in Washington, D.C., and that every company pays lobbyists to get the deals that they want done? That's right, future movie actor. He is a Disney villain. Jake Van Norton says, I wish Disney was able to tell more LGBT stories. I feel like the other shows, like The Last of Us, everyone is very respectful of it and wants more. Well, I think that's because The Last of Us was very organic in the way they told their story. I think that Disney doesn't have a deft touch in that department, and that's what's been hurting them. I also think that they need to have one or two really successful LGBT projects rather than a number of ones that do not connect. Maria says, I moved to outlaw lobbyists and PACs They corrupt indefinitely and hold our democracy at gunpoint, literally. Well, Maria, I agree with you. I feel that I don't think you should be able... You're not conservative, Jason? Your comments seem to say otherwise, but thank you for clarifying. And you're very passionate about it. That's fine. But I think that I feel that I feel that being able to contribute to ad campaigns is a real problem, and I wish that politicians were not able to do that. But no one can vote down. No one will vote for campaign finance reform because they want all the money. So that's the problem. It should be something that people could vote for instead of politicians themselves. All right, let's get at the next story of the day. All right. Story number 3. Boom, baby. I'm so happy. I love Donnie Yen so much. I love Donnie Yen. All right. Where did you first discover Donnie Yen? For me, it was the Ip Man movies. I thought they were incredible. I was like, these are such amazing movies. They were really a big deal when they were coming out. The trailers were even doing well here. So I was reviewing them and reacting. And I was like, what an amazing guy this guy is. I just love me some Donnie Yen. I couldn't be a bigger Donnie Yen fan. He's like Bing Crosby if he was a kung fu monk. You don't know who Donnie Yen is, VTTV? Watch an Ip Man movie. They're so good. And he was in John Wick 4 as well. That's where he is at that premiere. They have a picture of him. Now, he, of course, also was in Star Wars, and as we just said, the last John Wick movie. And Hollywood is a business of relationships, as we've been discussing. And so, being in John Wick 4 turned out to be a really great idea for him, because now that team has put him as the star of a kung fu movie. I love it. Now, not just kung fu in general. We're talking the 1970s television show Kung Fu, which starred David Carradine. That's him on the bottom there. And David Carradine was not at all Asian, even though he was cast in this role. He was, I guess, according to 1970s Hollywood, he was Asian passing. He was playing a half Asian, half white character. But David Carradine is actually Irish. But, that's right, Bruce Lee created the show, so it's got that going for it. And it did have a lot of Asian talent on the show at the time, which was a very big deal. However, it's really great that they're correcting that with Donnie Yen in the role. And Donnie Yen can play this in his sleep. It's basically going to be Ip Man in the American West, because that's the setup. This monk has been, fled China because he was being persecuted, and he goes to the American West, and then he rights wrongs. He tries to live a peaceful life, but of course nobody will let him, dealing with bullies and racism. And it's, I've never seen the show, but it sounds good, and I'm a big Donnie Yen fan. So I'm like, wow, Donnie Yen, this is perfect for you. And Donnie Yen's like, I know, oh, this is great. So this is going to be produced by 87 North. Now, that's the company that was founded by Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, hot off of the John Wick film that they made together. And it, obviously Stahelski went on making John Wick movies. Leitch went on to do lots of other things. More on him in a moment. But this production company makes a lot of movies, and they do a lot of things like Nobody and Violent Night. Those were all 87 North productions. So they're going to do this Kung Fu movie. And David Leitch, who he's producing it, and he's also thinking of directing it. Now, he, of course, went on to direct Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, and then the Fall Guy movie that's coming out with Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. He is a very big director and certainly fancies himself a big director by C-Class. So if he's going to direct this movie, I think he's going to elevate it to try and make it like a big blockbuster, a big picture deal. But this is very, very exciting. I think it's wonderful. I wonder if this could finally be a breakout hit for Donnie Yen, right, in Hollywood. He's, of course, a huge star in China and a global star, but he's never totally caught on here in Hollywood. Some of you were asking who he was. So I love the guy, and I really hope this maybe is finally it. And obviously the movie would be engineered to do very well globally because, huge, China, obviously, where Donnie Yen is a big star, it could do quite well there. 87, my only concern, though, is 87 North is not consistent. Sometimes they give you a John Wick, Sometimes they give you a Nobody or a Violent Night. And those are fine, very fun movies, but I would want Donnie Yen to be in something a little bit bigger than that. Jason points out that Donnie Yen is as big as Jackie Chan in Asia. Donnie Yen is a huge star in Asia. I don't know why he hasn't been able to transition to Hollywood like Jackie Chan was able to do. All right, I'm sure David Carradine will show up in a cameo. I mean, it would be crazy and disrespectful for him not to be there because people do like the show. People feel, even though it was a shame that they didn't have an actual Asian lead, you know, Bruce Lee did produce it. I think it's remembered very. Oh, did he die? Oh, did David Carradine die? That's too bad. My bad. I apologize. What a shame. Well, I'm sure they'll do an ode to him because, you know, obviously he's very much associated with that show in a positive way. So does anybody have any questions or comments about this story before we get to the Ask Me Anything portion of the show? Well, let's be respectful of David Carradine. I mean, I'm sorry about what happened to him. Let people, I mean, no comment. Well, that brought this conversation to a halt. All right, so let's move on to the Ask Me Anything portion of the show. All right, it's 5:18. You can ask me anything that you would like until 5:28. Jason points out that Donnie Yen has his own stunt team because he likes to hit. I mean, I'm sure Donnie Yen is a professional. Nick says he heard a credible rumor that Patrick Schwarzenegger is playing Hal Jordan. He now has a Warner Brothers connection because of why. I mean, what's your credible rumor? I don't think. I got to tell you, Patrick Schwarzenegger got a lot of fans thanks to being on Gen V, and he was actually pretty good. So I wouldn't be shocked if he played Hal Jordan, but I haven't heard that anywhere. And I think he seems a little young to me for the role. But let's see. Tiff says, my first Donnie Yen experience is when he was starring in the Sleeping Dogs video game. Oh, I've never heard of that. That sounds cool. Elise, this Kung Fu thing will be a movie, by the way. The Kung Fu thing that we were just discussing would be a movie. David Kyle, I have not seen Expats with Nicole Kidman. Is it really good? I'll try and check it out. Jake Van Norden, I haven't heard any additional names for Johnny Storm. Although I've told you that I hope that the reason it's taking so long to announce is that they're thinking of maybe casting somebody else. Hey Matt, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good. VTTV, I did hear that I heard rumors of Super Bowl trailers. I haven't been able to confirm anything. I tweeted about what the trailers what I heard the rumors were. Hey, Harlequin Dove, better late than never. And Junior Jangles, I appreciate that. I've been working very hard on my hair. It's a journey. Hey, Danielle Davila. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Nicholas, I'm not going to watch Feud tonight. I'm going to try and watch the Suicide Squad cutscenes, and they're 3.5 hours. So I'll have to save that. And Real Housewives. Oh, I'll have to save it for tomorrow, I'm afraid. Oh, it's going to be tough to save it. Let's see here. Adam Byers says, Grace, what do you think about Aryan Simhadri for Robin in Brave and the Bold? He is good in Percy Jackson. Let me look him up. Let me see how old he is. Way too big. Way too old for that role. Way too old to be Robin. I'm pretty adamant that Robin be a child. I demand it, in fact. But someone of that ethnicity for sure. I don't know, Stardust. I don't know. Tammy says, hey, Grace, are you still planning on watching the new season of Feud? Well, I'm going to watch it, but not tonight. Hey, Antonio, thank you for gifting a membership. Michaela, my review of Mr. and Mrs. Smith will go up tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I've already filmed it and edited it, and it's uploaded, and that's when the embargo lifts. Tiff, my dinner tonight is salmon and avocado. I'm going to have sushi for tomorrow, though, at those shows. I'm excited about that. Shamar, as I just said, I am reviewing Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I've already reviewed it, and it will go live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Danielle Davila says, do you feel that after 2024 we will see a significant rise in quality or more of the same? I don't know. I mean, I think there's really good stuff that's out, right? I think it's going to continue to be a mixed bag. Hey, Randolph G. That's his real name. I watched Poor Things, and I have to agree that it was so offensive at times, but couldn't look away. It was so grotesque. Yeah, more and more people are seeing the movie, and, I have some friends who told me they liked it. So, as I said, I don't want to discourage anybody from seeing the movie. My biggest thing, and I really don't care for the film, but my biggest thing was that I felt people should know what they were getting into. Because part of why I had such a bad reaction was it was a very bad surprise. Wow, Sansan, that is so kind of you. Hi, Grace. I've been watching your videos for a couple of years because I want to become an actor and get to know the industry more. It has been very fun and informative. I just became a member and joined BTT Inside Access, and I'm excited. Oh, me too, Sansan. And I'm glad to hear that I'm helping you with your goal. That was very generous of you. Thank you so much. Michael says, did you say salmon and avocado for dinner? What's the dish recipe? I eat very plain food, so it's just literally a roast fillet of salmon and some avocado. I'm not like making it into anything fancy, I'm afraid. And I put some Parmesan cheese on the salmon though, and that's delicious. Delicious. Matthew says, do you think we'll see She-Hulk again? I'm sure that we'll see She-Hulk again. I'm sure of it. I don't know if we'll see She-Hulk season 2, but she's too good a character not to keep. Oh, Daniel, you meant the quality of Marvel. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. I think this jury's still out on that. I'm still a little nervous about some of the hires. Kay Walton's having salmon and brown rice. That's excellent of you, Kay. That's very healthy. Stick with those whole grains. Pixie Mermaid says, predictions for Argyle's box office. Oh, it looks so bad, Pixie Mermaid. I don't think it's going to even hit 20 million, which would be awful. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be maybe in the teens. Tiff, I don't know Final Fantasy VII. I don't know video games very well. I mean, I know some of them. I'm learning. I Heart Movies says, Grace, I just want to say thank you for everything you do and showing people like me this job is even possible. Oh, my pleasure. And thanks for being a member. I see you've got a silver badge there. So you've been a member for a few months now. Mexican Nacho says, hi, Grace. I saw your Argyle review. Which would you say are the top new movies for Valentine's Day? I think Argyle is a really great choice for Valentine's Day, to be honest with you. It just ended up being so romantic. I was really impressed. George says, Severance Season 2 started filming. I know, I'm so excited about it. Oh, I'm so excited. And take your time, Severance. Make sure that Season 2 is good. Wandering Seth says, I'm currently losing the battle against sugar, but you've inspired me to stay on top of eating regular greens. That's great, Wandering Seth. It's hard to quit sugar. I think maybe to get yourself off of it, you should switch to natural sugars like honey and raisins. That might help you a little bit when you're starting out. Adam Sphere, I don't know when I'm going to watch Godzilla -1. I feel like that might just escape me. Dre Films, your doctor put you on the Mediterranean diet? Well, I'm glad you're seeing your doctor, and I'm glad they're taking good care of you. Joy says, if Sam Rockwell is the star of Argylle, why is Henry front and center for all of the marketing? Did he insist on it, or was it a studio decision? I think it was the studio decision. I think that they felt he was their best shot at selling the movie, and I think they wanted to do the misdirect because it plays into the film itself. We'll see if it worked out. Abhishek says, who are your biggest inspirations or the quotes that keep you motivated during tough times? You know, one of my favorite quotes comes from a Batman comic. And it was a great comment. And Batman said, it's impossible to live a life without regret. What you have to do is choose the path with the least amount of regret. And that's always been very helpful to me. Oh, Bozzolini, that's a great name, says anyone but you was okay. But that's true. I wonder if it'll come out on digital finally for Valentine's Day. I bet it does. I bet they dropped that for Valentine's Day. That would be perfect. Oh yeah, Sensation, that Godzilla -1 watch-along party. Maybe we'll do that. Hey, Jack. Great to see you. Oh, Treble Latrice, you like the poll streams? I'll try and do another one. I don't think we ever did a Star Wars stream. Maybe we'll try and do that because it's a little slow. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Famous Amos says it's getting a re-release with 4 more minutes for Valentine's Day? That seems ridiculous to me. They could still put it on digital, though. Oh, Jared Reedy says, Grace, I'm a reporter for my local paper. I started officially last week. That's fantastic. Congratulations. You're doing it. Michaela says, do you think Avatar will do well on Netflix? I'm not sure if it will do well on Netflix, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. I think that I'm worried that it's going to be just so much of a retread of the animated series. Fans might be like, well, why would I watch this? Rabbi Zeke, Madam Web's review embargo lifts on February 13th, and that's when I will review it. Trisha says, do you think Percy Jackson will be in the overall ratings for Nielsen for tomorrow? Well, I don't know if it'll break in tomorrow necessarily, but I do think by the end of its run, it will have broken into the overall list, which is very exciting for that show. Targaryen Poppy, that's great, says, will you be covering Umbrella Academy Season 3 next month? Does that come out next month already? I'll try to cover it, yeah. I think I'll probably review it. I love that show. I think they might have waited too long to bring it back, though. All right, shout-out time. Shout-out time. All right. Yeah, I know that the season finale was for Percy Jackson was yesterday, but don't forget that Nielsen is a month behind in the ratings. I'm pretty sure I got all the super chats. That's right, Sensation. Today is the last day of January. So I'm doing shout outs now. Where are you? What are you doing? Let me just say hi to you. That's right, Arvin Sarmiento. Shout outs. Jack M says, just chilling in Liverpool after a busy day with trail shifts. Trail shifts at restaurants? What's that mean? I don't know the restaurant lingo, unless that's a typo. My pleasure, Peter Evans. SMR Goose has just had a self-care day at the salon. That's fantastic. Good for you. Well, Pixie Mermaid is folding laundry. And Sensation just finished their Popeyes lunch. Oh, I've never had Popeyes, but I obviously know that it's very popular. Mr. Magic. Hey, Mr. Magic says saying bye-bye in Portland. Famous Amos is working hard for data. Do the first in Queens. You can do it, Famous Amos. You still have some hours to go. You have a good one too, future movie actor. Mandito Jr. says, about to walk into the gym and then get some salmon dinner. Salmon for everybody. We're all having salmon. While Adamsphere is enjoying poke, that's kind of like sushi, right? On the big island in Hawaii. Oh, I love that. Danny says, ending my shift in Guatemala while watching your stream. It's so great to always have you here, Danny. You're great. VTTV says, practicing my Spanish while thinking about what I'll have for dinner tonight. Oh, are you thinking about what you'll have for dinner in Spanish, baby? Let's see here. Bye, Tiff. You take care, too. That's right, Ben Green. It's a salmon party. Rashad says, off to work. Thankful for the live stream once again. It's always great to see you, Rashad. That's right, Adamsphere. I've never had Popeyes. There aren't a lot of Popeyes in New York. That's why, I think. And now I can't eat fast food. So will I ever have it? Writer Boy says, editing my novel and thawing chicken. Way to multitask. While Targaryen Poppy says, getting ready to work a flight as a flight attendant in Miami. What a cool job. I hope it's good these days. I know it's been tough, but that's awesome. You must get to go to so many great places. Doc Hayes says, packing their house, preparing for a move. That's exciting. Well, Ivan Sarmiento says, here in Mexico feeling sick, thinking about watching a show or movie to lift me up. Feel better, Ivan. Why don't you watch Wonka if you haven't seen Wonka? That just came out on digital today. Or you could watch The Last Airbender to get ready for the show. Kareem Worrell says, I'm having stir-fried chicken breast with cauliflower rice. Oh, you might win, Kareem. That is very healthy. Wow, Lawson, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. And Gareth, I always love to see your Golden Girls avatar. Thank you for gifting 10 memberships. Mikey Bray says, in Manchester, UK, just finished watching Bottoms and eating my homemade curry. That sounds like a nice evening. Let's see here. Trisha says, I'm cooking food as my family is getting ready to watch the Percy Jackson finale. That's so nice, Trisha. You're taking good care of everybody. I hope everybody appreciates you making dinner for everybody for the finale. Did I miss Jason's super chat? I did. Eating Momofuku noodles, writing music, and sad that you think I'm a conservative. Jason, your comments lean conservative. I don't know what to say, but I'm taking you at your word, and now I know that you're not. Let's see here. Dr. Long Monkey is walking 2 of their dogs. That's awesome. And Steve Salvato says making pulled pork and mac and cheese for dinner. My God, that sounds delicious. I wish I could eat it. Comfort food indeed. And Ricardo Sanchez says, bought tickets to go see Argyle. Looks like fun. Brian and Ricardo, I think you'll have a great time. I think you'll really enjoy it. Hey, Matt, at work in Michigan. Isaac Lopez says, crocheting chickens for my crochet business. That sounds like you have a pretty cool business there, Isaac. Tweet me a pic of a crocheted chicken when you're done. All right, I better get back to work. Thank you, everybody, for joining today's live stream. I had a fantastic time, as always, and I look forward to seeing you soon. There should be a live stream tomorrow, because I've decided on tomorrow, because I'm going to be taking most of Friday off. All right, everybody, bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye-bye.